I want to start here with a quote that many of you will be familiar with, and that is this from Jurassic Park by Jeff Goldblum's character, Dr. Ian Malcolm, who says, "Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should." This to me is extremely representative of modern user interface design, particularly when it comes to mobile apps. As much as we talk about simplicity on small screens, as much as we talk about a mobile-centric approach or mobile-first approach, I still see situations where there is just too much everywhere. Not just in terms of volume of content or volume of information, but also in terms of animation, okay? In terms of all the clever ways that we can go, wow, look how cool that is. And in many of those cases, no one is really taking a step back and going, wait a minute. We know we can do this and we know it's exciting and cool for us, but should we really do it? On a small screen like the Apple Watch, less truly is more. Research has shown us that visual complexity can obstruct a user's perception within 50 milliseconds of exposure. I want you to read that again. 50 milliseconds. You know how fast that is? That means that if instantly it feels like too much, if instantly it feels like, oh my God, I'm going to have to figure out what all this stuff is before I can do anything, they're gone. You lost them. All right. As exciting and innovative as this product is, this Apple Watch, the reason it hasn't taken off to the degree that I think Apple certainly expected it to has everything to do with its form factor and how it's created. As simple and self-obvious as a lot of these icons are, it is still a lot to deal with in a very small space. That's a fact, and that's not going away. So if it looks too complex, we assume that it's hard to use, or at least it's time-consuming to figure out how to use, even if it truly isn't. That doesn't matter. What I'm trying to get across to you is we make a split-second decision based on what we see. It doesn't matter if reality is, hey, you know what? This is really simple. It'll take you 5 seconds to figure out. If that's the perception, we will never take the step to figure it out. But I want you to understand that this is not about simplicity for the sake of simplicity. This is about making clear, immediate impact via ruthless editing. That means we're only including what's useful for the task at hand. You've heard me talk about progressive disclosure. What's important to me right now. The key, however, is not to go too far in your pursuit of simplification. And I'm going to pick on flat design again. Common UI elements like buttons, menus, common actions are a very significant part of what makes a site or an app useful. This Chrome, so to speak, is often minimized in favor of increasing valuable content on screen. That's a trend that has turned into an approach, a mandate of some sort, and it's a little backwards. In theory, I get it, right? This is a noble pursuit. It's logical. But in practice, it can be dangerous. It can be counterproductive, and it can have the exact opposite effect of what we intend. All right, and here's what I mean. Take a look at the example on the right. This is from a site called Menagerie, which you will see again, by the way. As nice as this is, it's well designed. The typeface choices are well considered. The negative space is well considered. Take a look at that, especially at the bottom where there's this horizontal line with the words shop now. Now, although a lot of people will probably tap on that to see what it does, that shop now doesn't look like an interactive element. It's the same color as everything else. It's very small. It's understated. It does not say in its appearance, I do something. In other words, it probably needs to be a button because a button says, you touch me, I do something. That's accepted understanding. That's convention. That's the user's mental model that I talked about in the last lesson. All right, we have an idea of what things are and how they work. And the minute you force me to reevaluate my mental model or learn a new one, the minute something doesn't conform to my expectation, I have trouble. I promise you, because I've seen enough of this myself, that if you put this site in a usability lab, people are going to have trouble with this. They're going to say like, well, how do I find the products? I guarantee you on my eyes. Okay, I guarantee you. Hiding elements can be costly. Icons without labels, for example, are much worse than labels alone. All right? Designers often believe that icons or pictures provide a greater degree of recognition while saving screen space. Logically, I get it. but in fact, those things often go unused because they're vague. If I don't know what this is, if it doesn't fit my model of what something means, or I've never seen that icon before, right? And I'm supposed to understand what it means, it's going to confuse me. Less Chrome, less guidance, less labeling, less navigation, less whatever, means that users have to work harder to discover those things, particularly when it's hidden beneath a gesture. If an opportunity to interact isn't visible, people assume it isn't available. One thing I see constantly is that the designers and developers assume that because all these gestures are available, that people will automatically know that they exist. Okay, take a look at that list on the right. These are common gestures built into most mobile apps, sites, and systems. The problem is there's a lot of research around the fact that no one knows all of them. There are maybe a handful that are common to people, and the rest of the stuff is hidden. And what I'm seeing is a trend where designers and developers are making everything only accessible by gesture. Well, guess what? If you don't know the gesture, you're not going to access anything because you don't know it's there. It's irresponsible, to be honest with you, okay? It's sloppy. It's poor design. It doesn't take in consideration that you'll have people of varying skill levels and various levels of familiarity, all right? And it absolutely flies in the face of accessibility of any kind. It's lazy. Don't do this. Expecting users to discover an interaction by trial and error is a recipe for abandonment. They'll get pissed off and they'll leave.